nephew, my brother's son. Once he was preparing for one of the competitive exams, and he one day messaged me. He knew that like I teach Buddhism, Mahayana Buddhism, and all. So one day he messaged me the photo, two photos with yours, and he asked me that you teach Buddhism. Tell me about Mahayana. So I myself have been, I've never studied art or history before my research work. So I did not study these history textbook in my school, class 12. Till then I studied literature, but this is class 11. In India, we have this NCERT, so class 11 history textbook. And then he sent me, and he said, tell me about Mahayana. So when I read it, I realized how wrong understanding or misinterpretation of historical facts, I'm not talking about ideology, facts, how wrong facts has been taught to generations, Indian students. I'm not talking about old, my generation people have studied this. And this has shaped their mind, unfortunately. Majority of my professors, they taught me wrong facts. No hesitation in saying that. And in majority, I'm saying again, majority of textbook, still you will find these wrong facts buried. It takes time to correct the facts. We had a seminar, Tharmal seminar, some of you might be there. In that seminar, one of the professor said, India is a wounded civilization. Wounded, wounds. And it takes time to heal. So it will take, I think, at least 20 or maybe, I don't know, maybe 10, 20 years to correct these facts. So still we are getting wrong. So I will show you what is the implication, what is the result. One, remember, Mahayana Buddhism pervades across many countries. Still, it is a living tradition in China, Vietnam, Japan, Korea, Tibet, Bhutan, Nepal. And of course, in India, entire Himachal, from Ladakh till Arunachal Pradesh, all the Himachal region have Mahayana. Now, what has been taught to? I am talking about this is Indian school textbook, what has been taught. So here is a page from a book, and this book was written, edited by my own history department, head of a book. So, like Delhi University Professor R.S. Sharma edited. And this is politics of, how to say, politics of religion. Unfortunate, very unfortunate. So, what this book talks about. And I am giving you these highlights were done by my nephew. Origin of Mahayana. So, this book is talking about, this is wrong fact. By the way, this is wrong. I don't take it as a correct thing. I am criticizing it. So, it says origin of Mahayana Buddhism. And it says Buddhists further welcome foreigners who are non-vegetarians. All this meant laxity in day-to-day living of the monks and nuns. So first, this book is trying to say that Mahayana is not Indian, it has come from outside. Second, it is saying that it is laxity, that means monks became, relaxed. They did not follow the discipline. They lived a sparse life, now they accepted gold and silver. Of course, we know that there is a second, but there in just 100 years after, it was corrected that this is wrong practice. But what is being said, based on that monks started accepting gold and silver, took non-vegetarian food, more elaborate about discipline, that means Vinaya, became so slack, so weak, that some renunciate even deserted the religious order of the Sangha and resumed the householder life. This new form of Buddhism became Mahayana. What sort of you are trying to present? That this Mahayana Buddhism is declining. Of course, I can go on. There are many such wrong facts have been written about Mahayana and also Tantra, which is integral integral part of Mahayana. Tantra means, the Vajrayana, that's a part of Mahayana. And wherever Mahayana is there, even in Theravada also there are many tantric practices, not visible or not directly said, but they are there. For example, Vipassana, when you meditate upon bodily sensation, and this is not my original finding, already scholars have written on it, again very few scholars. Even Vipassana practice is one of the Vajrayana or Tantra. It is difficult to just say that way, but it is. Because you are working on your consciousness, and wherever you are working on your consciousness mind, it is Tantra. So Tantra defines Tanana, Trayati, Iti Tantra. So expansion of your consciousness, the path which gives you liberation is Tantra. So that's the definition. And that way all meditative practices become part of it. So, and wherever Mahayana is there, there is a Tantra and mantric system. For example, you recite Great Kavis. I learned after coming to this university only. I did a little research on that. When you recite Great Compassion Mantra, I hope, how many of you know from Vietnam the Great Compassion Mantra? You recite? Raise your hand.
Great compassion.
Okay, so you already know. This Great Compassion Mantra is in Sanskrit. It is in Sanskrit. Still, and it is a part of a mantra tradition, Vajrayana tradition, if you have to categorize. And it has multiple tantric deities, the name and their manifestation. Of course, in Vietnam, you have 108 forms of Avalokiteshvara, which manifest from that, which is difficult to take now. But overall speaking, still it is being recited. And nobody knows in India, unfortunately. And even although I studied Buddhism and Tantra for many years, 10, 15 years, but I still, when I came into contact with the students, then only I discovered this. So there are many ignorance and wrong, misinterpreted facts about Mahayana. So this is one important thing. What the reason of this is, when historians they started rediscovering Buddhism in India, because in mainland is the central part of it. Buddhism was not very, present. So when they wrote history of Buddhism, they interpreted, and India was colonized. Britishers were ruling at that time. And Britishers, they were in Christianity. You have two strands. One is Protestant, another is Catholic. So these two strands, British Christians are Protestant, so they have a kind of a reformative idea. There was a reformer called Martin Luther King. So he tried to revive the Christianity. Similarly, based on Protestant theology, Britishers tried to reform or interpret Buddhism, and they represented Buddha as a reformer who is against Vedic traditions. And when they saw that Mahayana Buddhism is very closer to the ancient Indian tradition, because you have lots of mantra, deity, temples, worship, so they started interpreting Theravada Buddhism as an anti-Vedic tradition, which is again wrong. This is something very deep, but also sensitive. So they projected many things. What we call cherry picking approach. Cherry picking means you pick something and you leave something. For example, this is a report from Sanchi. I hope everybody are you aware of what is Sanchi? Just Sanchi. Are you aware of what I am talking about? No. Okay, Sanchi is a place in India. Are you aware? So Sanchi is a place in India where two big stupa of Sariputra and Maudgalyani, they were discovered. You know Sariputra? So Sariputra and Maudgalyani, their relics were preserved in Sanchi. And Alexander Cunningham in 1854, he discovered, like already it was there, but he did a thorough survey, archaeological survey. But also in Sanchi, there was a Vajrapani capture. Now Vajrapani is a Tantric and Mahayana Buddhism. In typical Chenadu. not proper. Nobody, unless I did my own deeper research and this much later, just 5-6 years back, one of my professors he published. Then only I got to know that Sachi had many Mahayana and Tantric. So this what we call cherry picking approach. That means only selected things were presented and rest of things were just kept hidden. So many of this, here I'll show you another. This is a professor. He passed away, but very renowned professor from Banaras. He did not know English. He wrote only in Sanskrit and Hindi. So people forget these types of scholars because we are so much English-oriented people, unfortunately, that we don't recognize our own indigenous, those who write in Indian languages. But he was a very renowned, he was invited to Oxford, he would speak in Sanskrit. Their professor, they will translate his speech into English. So he did not care about that I don't know English. So I have translated his page from this book. He says, the attempt to re-establish Buddhism in India has been taking place in the background of Theravada. Because Theravada, Sri Lanka was British colony, Myanmar was British colony. So Britishers could control Myanmar and Sri Lanka. So mostly Sri Lanka imported it. And that is how they interpreted Buddhism. So it has been done in the background of Theravada. And in this Mahayana and Tantra tradition of Buddhism, though there has been a huge translated literature of Mahayana in China, Chinese, Japanese, Tibetan and Mongolian language, unfortunately they have been forgotten or rejected. So the Mahayana literature was not given importance. In a similar way, revivalists of Vedic religion, so the problem is not just for the Buddhism but also Hindu tradition. Revivalists of Vedic tradition have negated Agama Tantra and Puranic literature. He adds, he says, some organizations and intellectuals, even though they are against the ideology of suppression for India's 2.5 years, literary, cultural heritage, and they are talking about it, however, unknowingly or knowingly, such thinkers have begun forms of propaganda of Western ideological dominance. So there are some people who say, oh, India is great, but unfortunately, they are also repeating the same things which European and Western ideology people they don't know. So we need to look. I'm mostly talking about India, but this is equally applicable for Asia because most of Asian countries have very similar heads, and most of them were colonized by European forces. So and I'll give you for just to show you a glimpse, like just to give you some idea that how much we Indians are ignorant about our own heritage. And I don't know, maybe the same is true with say Vietnam or Burmese or people from Bhutan, ignorance about their own heritage, because most of the things what we learn, we get it from our school books, which don't teach us many things. This is how many of you are seeing this or getting to know Jawaharlal Nehru for the first time? Raise your hand. Your sister, So this person is first Prime Minister of India. First, when India became independent, he became the first Prime Minister. So very important figure. Founding fathers of India. They were the people, and he was the head leading them. He became the head, and when constitutions were made, how India's future will be, this person decided. So very important figure. was assassinated. So by in 48, just 1 year after India became independent. So he was the person who led Africa. So for independent India, he is the most important. And this is from his book. He wrote a book very still it is not part of it is taught in school and colleges still. This book is The Discovery of India. The name of the book is Discovery of India. In this book, page number 50, he mentions this. And what he says, now I am quoting him, I am not interpreting him, I am quoting him. He says, India was in my blood. There was much in her that instinctively thrilled me. Yet I approached to her as an alien critic. Alien critic means somebody who does not know. And critic means criticizing. So the Prime Minister himself is saying that although India was in my blood, but I approached to her, that means India, as an alien critic, full of dislike for the present as well as many of the relics of the past and history. To some extent, I came to her by the West. So this is the problem. To some extent, I came to her by the West and looked at her, that means India, looked at India as a friendly Westerner might have done. I was eager and anxious to change her outlook and appearance and give her a garb of modernity. Yet doubt arose in me. Did I know India? I, who presume to scrap much of her past heritage. This is his confession, very truthful confession. Many leaders hesitate to take this confession. He was honest in this. And we can ask the question, did I know India? This is not just his dilemma. Just check, do you know Myanmar? Do you know Bhutan? Like I'm talking to your country, think about it. And this is one of the founding fathers of India, his statement. So lots of, what we get to know about our own heritage. It has come to us via the West. Big challenges. My understanding, my thought process, what changed once I met Tibetan masters, those who were not educated in any school, college. And when I learned from them, I realized they have huge amount of, that was the transition phase of my life. I gradually turned into these steps of. Otherwise, I was doing a good job as a software professional, earning good money. But, if roots are not there, tree cannot grow. So you need a very strong roots. Then only tree will grow. And that's the hampering to the Asian, development. This is again a German thinker, a very good thinker. He wrote a book in German, India and Europe, and he says, in the modern planetary situation, Eastern and Western cultures can no longer be as equal partners. They meet in a westernized world under conditions shaped by Western way of thinking. This is the challenge. So this is on a lighter note. Here, this is a second proverb. It says, until the lion tells his side of this story, the tail of hunt will always glorify the hunt. So getting what it is trying to say.
History should remind the victors.
History should, if history is written by the victory or hunter, somebody who entered the land. So, how the land fought, what was the condition of land? Even never. So, this is a critical proverb. Unless the lion tells his story, the tail of man will glorify the land. the problem, especially with India, but almost most of the Asian countries, they suffer. They don't have lands to tell the history. And that's one of the reasons why most of Indians, they don't take pride in their culture and their language. I studied in a school where we were punished if we spoke in Hindi. If I am speaking my native language, we are taken pride, but it was, no, this was wrong. Now I realize what sort of education system we have. And I'm not talking about age, I'm talking about price. And still I don't know now. No. So look, not taking pride in your own culture, heritage, and that is why I feel quite elevated. These are some things which I wanted to share before I go on discussing today's topic. Today's topic, as I said, we will discuss the Mahayana Buddhism. And why I discuss particularly this, because there have been many wrong interpretations of Mahayana, especially on Mahayana.
So, could you clarify this? The Mahayana is not a philosophical school, it's a practice school arrived from the schisms within Buddhism.
Mahayana does not arise from schism. This is important. Schism is about schools of Vinaya.
The 18 school.
18 schools. They all are Shravakyan or Hinayas. So none of them are Mahayana. This is wrongly again when we studied books. Now it has been corrected, but still when we studied, it was said that Mahasamhika became Mahayana, which is a wrong fact. Mahayana is based on aspiration. Aspiration means if in Buddhism during time of Buddha itself or later on, what is your goal? You take a path. If you have to reach somewhere, you take a path, right? You have to go to Delhi, you will take a route, right? So Yana means a vehicle, not a path. Yana actually Mahayana and Sravakyan or Hinayana means a path. Yeah. So if you have to reach to Buddha, you have to take a vehicle. Maha means bigger, large, greater. If you have to reach to Buddha, then who is a Buddha? Buddha liberates himself and liberates everyone. That's a typical characteristic of it. And that is why there is a difference between Buddha and Arhat. Both are enlightened. But Arhat is, he can liberate or she can liberate himself or herself. Buddha can liberate others. Okay? That's the difference between Buddha and Arhat. Now, what do you want to become? If you want to become Buddha, you have to follow Mahayana. If you want to become Arhat, you have to follow Sravakya. That's a very clear distinction. And that is how these two branches in Buddhism got emerged. So it's aspiration. What you want to become? You want to liberate everybody? Become Buddha. You want to liberate yourself? Become Arhat. So based on these aspirations, so somebody might have been born in Sri Lanka who follows the Theravada. Most people think because they don't accept Mahayana Sutta. But if the person himself is aspiring to become Buddha, he is a Mahayana practitioner. And even if the person is born in Tibet or Bhutan, in a Mahayana or Vietnam, in a Mahayana practitioner, but if he or she aspires for her or his own liberation, he is a Sravakya. And remember, all monastic traditions are necessarily Sravakya because they take Prati Moksha. Wow, there are Prati Moksha individual liberation. But in the same monastic traditions, there are people those who think that I don't want my own liberation, I want everybody's liberation. So they are Mahayana.
So it's completely independent of the schools, it just derives from a personal
So I'm coming at that. So it is not related, Mahayana especially, it is not related to these monastic because monastic schools are all Shravakya. Now what happened around 2nd century BC? Buddha, it is believed, again there is a debate since ancient times, that around 2nd century Common Era, some new books appeared in the world called Mahayana Sutras. So there it has nothing to do with this people. This is a new phenomenon. So Nagarjuna, a great saint scholar, he discovered some sutra. If you Google Nagarjuna, so if you see these two figures, this one or this one, okay, let's see this. Here, this is Nagarjuna, a great Mahayana and one of the pioneer of Buddhist philosophy. Nagarjuna, he is sitting and he is reading a book. Okay? And here you see a serpent. Something, there is a water, from water the person is holding a book. So the history of Buddhism says that when Nagarjuna was there, these are Nagas, these serpent beings are celestial beings, divine beings. So when Buddha, it is said, according to Mahayana Sutra, when Buddha taught Mahayana Sutras, he said it is for very advanced people. Everybody cannot conceive. After 200-300 years, these, when people are advanced enough, these sutras will become impossible. So these sutras, Buddhist sutra, were being protected by Nagas, the serpent. So these Nagas, they offered these sutra to Nagarjuna. So this actually photograph is telling you that story. That so there arose a new kind of rediscovered sutra, which includes Pratyaparamita Sutra, Lankavara Sutra, Lotus Sutra, Heart Sutra, Diamond Sutra, all these sutra which you might have heard. Are you aware of Lotus Sutra, sister? Lotus Sutra. Yes. So Lotus Sutra is a Mahayana Sutra. Diamond Sutra, are you aware of, sister? Diamond Sutra is a Mahayana Sutra. Actually, this is Pratyaparamita Sutra. So these sutras are Mahayana Sutras. And they are coming into public domain, not during time period of Buddha. They are coming 200-300 after. 200-300 after Buddha passed away. So there arose a dispute amongst people. Some said these sutras are original, they were originally taught them. Some said that maybe Nagarjuna himself wrote it. So this dispute is there since ancient times. So a group of people, this has nothing to do with schism, which Mahasamhika. This is happening 300 years after second launch. People have mistaken, they have mistaken Mahasamhika with the Mahayana. There is no connection. There were a group of people, those who accepted these sutras as Buddha's teaching. So, and these sutras were called Mahayana Sutras. These sutras talk about Bodhisattva. These sutras talk that everybody's liberation is equally important, not your individual liberation. That is why when we study, we study Buddhist history one as early Buddhism, where early Buddhism means Mahayana Sutras were not discovered. Don't say written, remember. If you are writing your dissertation or article, don't say Mahayana Sutra was written, because historians make this mistake. In order to correct, if you are saying they were written, that means they were composed. To use this word compiled. Compiled means it was scattered at many places. Somebody collected them and wrote it. Compiled it. Written means somebody, Nagarjuna himself is writing. So that means you are saying that Mahayana Sutras are not original teaching of the Buddha. Individually, you are free to accept. I am not saying that you have to accept Mahayana Sutras are written, but we don't have, ethically, we should not offend a belief system. We have no right, if there is a group of people who believe these sutras were written by Buddha, we don't have the right to offend their beliefs. Whether correct or not, that is separate thing. It's my own view. But we have no, and there is a majority of people across the world in Asia, they believe that these sutras are original teaching of God. So who am I to say that if I have studied little history and trained in university, who am I to, offend or break people's belief? So it's my problem, I believe or not, that's a separate thing. But in general, this is I feel this is an ethical or a better approach. Then don't, rather than, we should not attack somebody's belief system. Even if I know what is fact or what, I don't have a right. So this is a wrong way of writing Buddhist history. Saying Mahayana Sutras are not original teaching of Buddha. This is a wrong way of presenting facts. Neither I was there, nor historians were there, nor you. How do you know what Buddha taught?
The main point is it didn't derive from the first, second, third councils.
No, first, second, third council, they do not at all talk about Mahayana. By that time, Mahayana Sutras were not in public. This is another, what that is when we are studying history, so we are studying chronologically. We studied Buddha, pre-Buddhist India, then we studied Buddha's time period, then we studied 3 councils, then we studied Ashoka, and now we are going further. So this thing is happening around 3rd, 2nd century BC, after Ashoka. Mahayana Sutras were not in public. By the way, Swenzan, there are multiple pronunciations, and there are using also the pronunciation, whatever you understand. Swenzan, he records that first council, this is again very typical, this comes not in other writings. Sri sources don't speak about it. But Swenzan mentions in his record that even at the first council, there was a group of Bodhisattvas. This is something different that we not discuss when I discuss first council. Because this is only comes in Swenzan, right? How to pronounce? Swenzan. An Indian book we call Swenzan. And English it is written Swenzan. I hope they know who is Swenzan. Okay. Anybody who does not know Swenzan? Everybody knows? Okay. Good. So he writes that when first council happened, a group of monks, not just monks but bodhisattvas, like Manjushri and Vajrapani, I just put your figure, they gathered at one of the hills of Rajki and they did their own council. And where they recited Mahayana Sutras. So first council itself has 2 different councils. Just after this is in Zin. So this comes in Swenzan, right? That even during first council itself, Mahayana Sutras were recited. But again, not by group of big people, but only selected bodhisattvas. Those who were very advanced bodhisattvas like Manjushri, Vajrapani, Avalokiteshvara. These are both great bodhisattvas. They are worshipped like a deity across the, in Vietnam, Avalokiteshvara worshipped in a female form. What is in Vietnam, Avalokiteshvara is worshipped in a female form.
Yeah.
What is the name?
Ventayam.
Okay. Anyway, so these bodhisattvas, they got Sutras and they recited Mahayana Sutras. So Mahayana Sutras, according to, again, this is Mahayana system, how it is that Mahayana Sutras were as old as Shravakyana Sutras, but they are coming into public in a later time. They got, and when they came into public around 3rd century BC, just after the Ashoka time period, then the disputers And from there onwards, so based on this, so what Britishers, I'm jumping to 19th century, Britishers did not highlight Zen's army. They just highlighted, okay, there was and they highlighted that on based on that, they said Mahayana Sutras are not possible. And that's why in Indian history books you have that kind of statement. So it is not that the historian or head of department just wrote something basis, but he is hiding some facts. He is hiding what Mahayana people they see their history. He is presenting only one side of the history. What they call cherry picking. You are hiding other, you are showing something. So that approach should be minimal. Okay, let us have a break and then we will continue.